Is it on? Okay, great. Okay. Well, so happy to see all of you here today, and what a beautiful place this is. Thank you so much, Patty and Wells Fargo, for welcoming us like this. And I would just say, Max, as a City of New York lead, wow, you're way ahead. I'm sorry that the other city leads have a ways to go to get us into facilities like this. Thank you so much. But anyway, this is a thrill to moderate this panel. I had the good fortune, thanks to Marcelo, I think, to get to know and go and visit Rafa and Maite in Houston, where you have to see it to really appreciate what he has built there. What a facility. He'll tell you more. I mean, there are probably pictures here, but it's been incredible. But what's also incredible and touching and relevant to all of us, because, you know, I think in a room of this size, we're probably at most one generation away from being an immigrant. So your story is going to have a lot of resonance with all of us here. So I'm going to get right to it and ask Rafa to give us some of the highlights of his trip to where he is today. Because, I mean, you're a financial guy too. So I think this is...
Not sure, but I'm guessing this works?
Yeah.
Yep. All right.
Perfect.
All right, so I'm Rafael Martinez. I was born in El Salvador, moved to Houston in 1997, and went to University of Houston, studied finance economics, found myself in the commodities trading world, and trade natural gas. So I become a partner with a global commodity trading firm in natural gas trading. The firm is actually based out here in New York, but I'm based in Houston. And so I don't have a racing background. I don't come from, karting or anything like that. I didn't even, thank you all for having us here and having Maite and I here in the panel. But I don't have a racing background at all. But about 4.5 years ago, I had a McLaren and I was collecting a handful of cars, and the gentleman that sold me the car invited me to come to the track and meet some other McLaren owners. And when I arrived at the track, I realized that the owners weren't watching a race or watching cars go around. They were actually driving their own road cars on the track. And I realized that this is a sport that I could actually still practice. I was 36 at the time. I'm 40 now. And I didn't realize that this is a sport you could do. When you watch it on TV, it just seems so unattainable. And as I enjoyed the sport that day, I became addicted to it. I got a ride along, became in love of what the car capability was. And I needed to figure out how can I do it myself. And those gentlemen that I met that day kind of taught me the initial ropes of how do you sign up for an event, and how do you learn to drive the car. But I wanted more out of it. And there wasn't really any roadmap. There wasn't any academies. There isn't really a lot of infrastructure available for people like everybody in this room that doesn't come from racing, that wants to go and enjoy the sport. Whether you want to go watch a race, it's even intimidating when you want to buy a ticket to a race because you don't know really what that means. Unlike basketball, football, baseball, soccer, where you see the stadium, you see the seating chart, and you can kind of already imagine yourself there. It's very difficult to do that in the racing world. I came up with an idea that hadn't been done before, which was to create a country club for racing enthusiasts and teaching people how to get to the racetrack, giving them community and sense of belonging, and doing it in the city where people live so they had access to it. And from there, organizing all the different logistics and all the different racing experiences, and using this platform and this event space that we've created in Houston as a way to bring not just members on board, but also bring partners on board to use this space for corporate meetings, for entertaining, for team buildings, and to interact with our members and our partners as well. So the club opened up about 6 months ago, and we have a global expansion from there planned. And we can probably go to some of the other slides.
Right. And, do we have the clicker? I want to talk a minute about what you built there, though, because when you walk in, it's an industrial park, and there are these beautiful facilities with conference rooms and with club-like spaces, some kind of really things that look like exercise bikes, but are um, monitors where you test the driving. I mean, it's extremely cool space. Everything is brand new and beautiful. And I guess in my mind, when I went, I thought, well, I'm going to go see a racetrack. But it's a totally different concept. That's not how it works. So tell us about how building that there, what you're going to do with that, and how you take it to scale to the next level.
Yeah, so what we wanted to build was a space of a country club that people could use on a daily basis for meetings, for training, for entertainment, to do watch parties and things like that. So we have professional full motion simulators that you can jump on and learn to drive, train, use for entertaining, or just just as a tool to become a better driver. We have a couple hundred inch screen TV. We have, as Adela mentioned, a conference room, meeting rooms. We have a lounge. Part of the complex, it's about 48,000 square feet total of building space. We have an 8,000 square foot training facility that is a world-class driver development gym, if you will. It's an entire world-class facility that we have developed F1 down type of programming for the drivers. So we've tapped into the greatest minds of racing to figure out what's the best way to get someone from never driving all the way to becoming an elite driver, and everything in between. So it's generalistic enough for it to be used for everyday fitness, but it's also really advanced and really tech advanced with all the equipment to give someone the ability to become an elite race car driver. Currently, we're racing in sports cars, and that's what we've been focusing on. But we're going to be advancing to different disciplines, and NASCAR is the next step that we're taking. So we're doing Lamborghinis now. We're doing Toyotas. We're doing Miatas. We've done prototypes, and next year we'll be doing stock cars in NASCAR as a professional racing team. And so the facility is intended for it to be a community space to use, to entertain, to train, and spend time in. And it's all intended to be a family environment. So it's welcoming for dogs, for kids, and for spouses and partners. That's one of the things that I found when I went to the world of racing. I went to the garages and it was 100 dudes, and they all complain about being in trouble for being at the track. And so we changed that, and now we welcome the entire family, and that's really what the business was built around. It was to be able to enjoy the sport with the entire family.
Well, very consistent theme with what we heard yesterday. Again, emphasis on family. I want to introduce Maite because it's so fascinating what she does. And I want her to tell us a little bit about her background and also tell us what inspired her to be a car driver. I mean, it's just not something girls wake up to. And so I want you to tell us. I do like a fast car, though. I want to say I had an AMG when it first came out, and I like to put my foot on it and get to Indiana in a rush and hope that I don't get stopped. But that's way different from being an actual race car driver. So tell us about that.
Thank you, Adela. So the first time I met her, I knew that she liked fast cars. So I know that for sure. So first of all, thank you for everyone for listening. It's an honor for me to be here. And a little bit about my story is that I come from a motorsports family. You imagine that my family, when I told them I like cars and I want to drive like them, they were helping me and saying, yes, Maite, we love it. No, not at all. I was 8 years old telling them hey, I want to do what you guys are doing because my father was a rally driver and my brother was driving too. He was getting into Formula BMW. He was getting a test in Formula One. And I was looking at them and going into the racetracks and I was like, this is my passion. This is what I want. And they told me, no, Maite, I think you need to keep with your studies. You're doing so well. Try sports. Another one, I did tennis, hockey, handball. I don't know. Everything, and nothing was to my liking as a motorsport. So when I was 12, I realized that women can also do this sport because I think that stopped me a little bit of trying more at 8 years old, that I didn't see any female representation. So years has passed, and we know that drivers start with 8 years old, 6, 5, even 5 on go-karts. And my first time trying a go-kart was at 17 when I told them, my parents, why my brother can do it and I cannot. So it was long years of studying and proving to them that it is what I want, and it wasn't not just like I want to be as you guys. It was something that I wanted, so I worked hard for it, like by studying and showing them, because that I knew that that was the only way that my parents would let me. So that's how like the passion grew, and I think I appreciate that they took the value of me working hard for this sport, because it made me say like, okay, this is a dream and I need to work hard, and it's not easy.
Wow. But Rafa, you mentioned, that typically this is a sport, it's a bunch of guys, and, their wives aren't a part of it. However, from the beginning, not only were you trying to build a facility that accommodated women and the family, but you showed me a video of the women's team you're grooming, developing. Talk about that, because
Not grooming.
that's amazing. Not grooming. Okay.
It's a sensitive subject right now.
Well, grooming to be winners
Yeah.
on the racetrack.
Yeah. So one of the things that I found, as I developed the concept and just myself into the space, was all the friction points that people had, and it was not just the logistics and how to get to the track, how to learn to drive, but really the financial obstacles that people had, the gender biases that people had. A lot of these teams and engineers were old school. They've been doing this for 30 years, and they've always worked with male boys and adults and gentlemen. None of them have really worked with a 17-year-old girl and kind of felt uncomfortable. And at some point, you have to buckle them in and make sure that they're safe. And there was just this entire stigma against women in the sport that it's slowly changing. I think that we're at the forefront of it, and we've made big strides towards it, which is great to see. But one of the things that I wanted to make a mission was to empower women and give them the opportunity to race the car, to become an engineer, to be in marketing, increase the number of hospitality events that we do. And that's one of the big things that we focused on, was around supporting women. And now as a roster, we're the most female-centric or female-leaning team in the highest level of racing. We have 5 women that race for us, 3 males. One of them is myself. So in reality, it's a couple of other males. And we're getting quite a bit of attention from the industry and from partners that are looking for exploring opportunities to partner and give visibility and participate in motorsports, and also have the similar missions of supporting people with low-income backgrounds and women in various sports that kind of help bring women to the forefront of industries and economic opportunities.
I love that. That's great. And having men champion women, young women, that seriously are trying to be winners, like Maite, I think it sends a really strong message, especially in our culture, which hasn't typically embraced that. So thank you for that. Tell us a little bit about the economics of racing. What is involved with that? Who are the main sponsors? How do you promote and get greater support? Because we want to figure out ways to expand this.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when I got into racing, a set of tires is $3,000, and you go through them twice a day. It's an expensive sport, just that alone, right? And so anytime you go to the track, even if it's just on a casual basis, you're spending, even on the cheapest car you can drive, at least a couple of $1,000 every time you go, which is a very difficult thing for most people to do. And so as I got into it, I realized the expense that we had to go through, and learned that the sport was really upside down. So anytime that you practice any other sport and become a professional, in most sports you get drafted and the team signs you and you have a salary and you go and get to go play for the team. They provide the facilities, they provide the physios, they provide the training, they provide the nutrition, they do everything for you. In racing, when you go get your professional race car license, you have to find $500,000 to go racing. And the team is just sitting there waiting for you to write a check. Otherwise, they don't support you. And that's just the way that the sport works. And every single weekend, there is veterans, pro drivers who are still calling people for money so they can race on Saturday, so they can show up to the races. And I thought that was just a complete, just disorganized way of doing things, completely fragmented. And it wasn't providing continuity and stability to an individual that wanted to go racing. And what I found was that there wasn't enough visibility, enough engagement, enough audience for most brands to participate in that sport. It was so expensive that only a handful of people that had the money was able to do it. And when brands looked at where to put their dollars, they were just naturally going to NASCAR F1 where the visibility is. But the people that get to that level have already had to spend millions of dollars to get there to begin with. And so the grassroots levels and the young development aspect didn't exist, and the funds weren't available. So as I studied the market, I put my trader hat on, looked at what the demand for the sport was, and not just the demand in participating, but the demand of creating access and getting your brand visible and seeing how many teams or how many sponsors each team had. And you look at a McLaren shirt and it's just tattooed with 30 different partners. I've spoken to McLaren about what would it take for me to be a sponsor. And they told me it was £5 million. It was going to be a sticker on a car, an acknowledgement on the website, and everything else was on a whatever you want cost basis. So if I needed to activate, if I needed more visibility, if I actually wanted to say that I was an official McLaren partner, there was a licensing fee to be able to say that, even though I was paying £5 million to participate. Yet when you look at how many logos they had, I was looking for the smallest logo. You have so much bigger logos. And so these teams are getting 80, 100, $150 million worth of funding, maybe more every single year through their partners. And what I found was that F1 was an entertainment platform, and that the reason that the level of racing that we're doing didn't have the partnership opportunities because it hadn't created its own entertainment platform, its own visibility. And so then I set out to build it ourselves.
Do it.
So we focus around content, around hospitality, around entertainment. We've produced our own TV shows that are going to be coming out in the spring on Amazon Prime. We're working with various different distributors to give us even further distribution. But we basically built an entire A to Z 360 platform where we can provide a brand, any sort of engagement, any sort of activation, hospitality, corporate event, teach you how to drive, meet the drivers, come to the racetrack, touch the hot tires as they come off of pit lane, basically really immerse you as a brand and integrate you across the board. And because we are developing tech, we are in the development of these constructions and the clubhouses. We are developing talent. We have academies that we're coming up with. We do have the performance center, the training facilities, and the content, the distribution aspect of it all. We're really able as a company to provide a company any sort of level of advertising, marketing, and activations as they like. And so we're very unique in that way of approaching the business. And I think we're seeing the results pretty quickly with brands and partners and a lot of funded drivers. We have a wait list of drivers with an empty check or a blank check, asking us, what is it going to take to race for us because of the visibility and the awareness that we've created.
That's fabulous. And Maite, can you tell us where you are in your racing arc, how you came to the U.S., and what your goals are in terms of being able to race competitively?
Yes, so when I was 17, that story continues. I started in karting, doing some experience because it's what every driver does. So I did well. My first year I was vice champion on my category in DD2 in karting. So as soon as that hit, I said, okay, where would I like to take this dream? Because obviously I wanted to become an F1 driver. I wanted to be the first female driver to come into Formula One. But I needed to be realistic. I was 17-year-old while other drivers were 17, like even Max Verstappen started on Formula One at 17. And with a lot of background, as we were saying, it's so expensive sport, and I don't come from a wealthy family like to sustain that journey. But I still kept that dream and I fight for it. So as soon as I did that vice champion, I said, okay, I need to move forward and try to get some sponsors from Uruguay to help me to get into the US. That was the closest. So I started doing some experience in Formula 4. I did some testing. I did like half season here in the Formula US Championship. It was good for the first year, but as soon as that ended, the Formula One Academy called me to do some testing to get into their championship that was opening for the first time in 2023. And I did that. And it was a way that it helped me realize about that I was a little bit too late to get into my Formula One dream, because I saw a lot of girls that they had the budget, the capabilities to go testing. And I was going into that season with the amount that I had to pay. And my dad told me, if you break the car, you have like one chance to do it, and it has to be like a wing that I'll tell you guys is like the small amount of damage that you can make. And he told me, and it better be worth it. Better be like you are like winning a position. Yes, exactly. Before the win. So I said, okay, this is hard because I was going into Monza. Maybe you know, it's in Italy, like the Temple of Speed. Yeah, Formula One. And I was on that weekend, and I was arriving for the first time, and I said, oh my God, I'm here. Like, I cannot believe coming from Uruguay, racing here with the WEC. And as soon as I found out, oh, the other girls were racing these past 2 days, like already with that experience, and I was going to my first test. So that was really hard to, like a hard pill to swallow into this championship because I struggled that year. But I prepared myself and then come to Formula 4 again in the US, and I was the only female driver on that category. And I was the first female to do some podiums there. So I think that experience in Europe helped me a lot to, become the driver I am now, even though it was a struggle. But did some podiums, ended fighting like for the championship, came up third. So that was really good because it was an all female male like field, and I was just the only girl, so that helped me a lot also to build some sponsors. And that was the year that I that I also said, okay, I don't want to like continue into formula cars because it's taking me nowhere, because my dream started going in, and I was starting to talk with engineers that my driving style was for GT, so endurance racing. So I started talking and with my father, what are we going to do? And I found Rafa through a mutual friend, and I told him about my plans and what it was my goal. It changed, but it didn't change about the amount of work and the passion that I have for this sport. And I found this category, and I started being more invested in what is IMSA, what is 24-hour Daytona. So that is how, like, the plan is to get into the top performance in endurance racing with the team.
Thank you for that. And Rafa, what did you see in Maite that you wanted to support this, even though she was in a different area? But how did you think it could fit into the beautiful design plans and vision that you have?
Yeah, so for us, obviously winning is important. We are a professional race car team, and we do need partners to be coming on board to want to support a program. And if we're at the bottom of the polls, it doesn't get the visibility that it deserves or that we promise. And so having someone that's very capable driving is a key component of it. But we as a business know that, in racing in particular, 25%, unless you're an F1 elite level of driver or funded, 25% of what you do on track is really what matters. That 75% is what you do off the track, in preparation, in marketing, in brand building, in relationship building, in attending events like this, in networking. And for us as a business, we're building this as a global brand and global scale. And so to have someone that has the work habit, that has the understanding of the business, that has the backing and understanding of what it takes to become a race car driver through her family, was very, very special to be able to find. And obviously being able to, as a Latino, be able to support a Latina, to be able to diversify the program, to be able to relate to different audiences. It was sort of like a really good match, kind of made in heaven in that way. And we've been able to find a few other individuals that are part of the team. And so what we have done that's very different than other teams at our level is we're not a service provider. We're not just a racing team where the driver shows up with the check. We run the car, the driver leaves, and then there is no real interaction in between. We sign our drivers onto multiple year contracts. We ensure and guarantee them the training, the development, the racing platform, and we work together to bring partners on board to find the funding and use all the tools that we have in our toolbox. And one of the things that we have there is sort of the way that the business works is we're looking to create the excitement and adrenaline rush that Red Bull gives you, the hospitality and exclusivity that SoHal does, the entertainment aspect, and the values of the family-friendly type of content that Disney does, and obviously F1 being the pinnacle of the competition. And so for us, being able to put everything together into one platform, we needed individuals that will embody that and that would be great on camera. They had a great story to tell. They had the work ethic. They had that business understanding that they weren't there just to be a fast driver. They were there to support the entire business. And Maite has been able to embody that, and it's worked out really well. It's been incredible.
This is so great. These are the kind of success stories I love, because you've had to create there it is, your own ecosystem. You've shifted things to meet your vision of what it should be, family oriented, women at the top. Yeah, and now trying to take it on the road. And so it's an incredible accomplishment, an incredible vision. I mean, who can think this? I mean, you didn't grow up in it. I mean, even Maite did. You didn't. You said you were in it 4 years before you decided.
Yeah, I think coming from the outside was probably more of the blessing than anything. Obviously, I've been professionally successful in the world of trading. I've invested over $50 million of my own personal funds in the development of the space, the brand, the concept, the racing, the content creation, the brand building, the partnerships. We've invested in the people. We've hired chief executives from different businesses to be part of our business as a startup in a sense. And we've been able to attract quite a bit of talent and sign drivers with compensation on appearances, on helping them do events and finding partners that want to be part of it all and fund not just the racing, but obviously the entire infrastructure of what we're building. So we're taking this global. We have this is our facility in Houston. One of the buildings. We have 3 total buildings. This is sort of like the members' clubhouse. But we have across the way a dealership with storage and service as a sister company, and another building that's where the performance center is. And we have Austin under construction, and we're looking to expand to the UK, across the US, Middle East. We're having conversations with the different sovereign wealth funds in the Gulf, and taking this sport where the funds are, so that we can continue to build a platform and bring the entertainment and bring the energy, bring the excitement to the rest of the world, and most important, bring access and opportunity to the people that don't have the funds to do it and that deserve the opportunity.
Well, it's fabulous, and I want to leave time for questions because this is so interesting. I imagine there's a lot you guys want to ask, and please, I want to give both of them a chance to. Oh, I knew it. Okay.
Well, Rafa, I know we spoke last night. I love this. I was entering into very that much. Starting academy, Rafa. I have another question related.
Sure. Yeah. So obviously, I dream big, and that's just the way I've always been. So my dream would be to have an F1 team or an association at some point. Whether that's in 10, 20 years or 3 years, there is no real roadmap to that. But a lot of the alliances and partnerships that we're building are things that I never thought were possible. And so our first time going professional racing as a team, we went to IMSA with the largest number of drivers, largest number of cars, with a factory backing of Toyota on our program. Teams dream of that. And they've been doing this for a couple of decades, maybe. And not only did we show up with that level of scale and a diverse background with the most girls on the team than any other team did, but we as a team had the most wins, the most podiums, and had the most visibility and created the most excitement than any other team did. And so to just achieve that, it was we were showing up just to hopefully compete. And when we showed up, we showed that the training, the development, the follow through, the same time that we put on the simulators and all that really makes a difference. And then a lot of people are really just showing up on the race weekends and going through the drill then, but we're putting a lot more time into it. So yeah, I think F1 is possible, and I think anything is possible. In terms of what Andretti and other people are doing, I don't think that for us it makes sense to recreate the wheel everywhere. So we are working with partners and tracks and clubs. We are going to talk to the Soho House about hospitality and amenities for our members. We are talking to multiple private racetracks about organizing private events at the racetracks and things like that. So as much as I want to build and develop our own track, and that's sort of one of the things that I still have sort of like a checkbox to do, it's going to make sense to partner with the existing infrastructure that struggles to make to make it right. It's a business that when you look at the teams that exist and on year basis, there is very little continuity. Imagine if you looked at the NBA, for example, as an example, and when you looked at the players that were there this year versus last year, 6 out of 10 players were new, half the teams were gone, and all new teams were there. Like that is the way the racing world works, unless you are in Indy, NASCAR, or obviously F1, where it's got the most longevity.
That's a good comparison. We'll come back, but I think there was a question in the back.
Yeah. So
Did everybody hear the question? No? Yes? Okay, good.
the one thing about yeah, so the one thing about the racing space in particular is that these drivers aren't really tied to a particular series. Everybody kind of does their own. They're not really contracted by the NBA or the PGA, for example. So we're not really at the F1 level now. And so to the extent that we want to expand, there isn't really anything that keeps us or prevents us from doing it. There's no governing body that would have a say, if you will. If anything, they actually welcome and they want to help us. So IMSA, where we're racing right now, SRO, where we're racing right now, they're ecstatic about what we're building because we're giving them an immense amount of visibility. We're giving them free content. We're a media and a studio, at the core of the business of what we do. We have these clubhouses very exclusive and it's members only, but we are creating and telling the stories and giving the brand, and those series themselves are brands on their own. And one of the things that we've experienced is since the beginning of where we, I don't know how much we influenced this, but from the beginning of the last couple of years that we started going to these races, the audience and the attendance and the viewership just continues to grow. And I think a lot of it is to the support of what we're doing. And we were in Road Atlanta at the end of October at the season finale, and for the first time, the event was sold out. On Saturday, it was at capacity. They were sending notes that if you don't have a ticket, there's no walk-ups anymore. Like the parking was exceeded, and there was probably something like 120,000 people there, and it was just like an incredible sight to see that this many people were showing up for these races because 5 years ago they probably had 10, 15,000 people showing up to them, and so the sport is growing. And there's a lot more, excitement around it. And you're seeing more and more brands participate. And I think with what we're doing as we expand globally, it's just going to continue to carry forward and support whatever series that we're going to. So I don't foresee necessarily having any sort of regulatory limitations to the growth.
And I'm going to take one more question here.
What's up?
Oh. I'm going to repeat it. Okay, the question is, how much is Rafa going to invest to make this a profitable operation, especially when you consider expansion, right?
Yeah, or just this.
Or just this one?
Yeah. So for us, it is. Yeah. So for us, the facilities. We're talking about 50 members in Houston in total. The initiation fees and the annual dues kind of cover the operating costs and what it kind of takes to develop one of the spaces. We're looking at being about 30 members strong here at the end of the year and hoping to get to 50 in the spring. That's kind of the target. It's invite only. It's, we want to meet the people that are part of it. So you can't just go online and sign up. And so we welcome you to come to a watch party, do a track day with us. We essentially immerse you into the things that we do and make sure that this is something you want to do, but also that it fits the mold and the culture, because I think the culture is the most important. And so 50 people is what we're targeting. It might end up being to 70, 100 just in terms of the space. But the offering of what we have is people that want to go racing. We want to be able to provide the racing support. If you want to take your car to a track, we want to be able to be there with you and not just send you to somebody else. And so the entry point is pretty high, but also the people that are joining are spending quite a bit with us. We have a couple of members that have done club racing with us this year, and they've spent a couple $100,000 to go club racing this year. They want to go race more competitive next year. Their budgets are going to be $300,000 per person, and there's margins built into all of that. So we as a business are really catering to the community that wants to use the services, and then we'll organize more I would say open houses or more participation type of events that we can welcome the more broader car community or racing community. But the goal is for us to be profitable next year with the clubhouse, just with the dues. Those will cover the overhead cost of them. Currently, we are evaluating, and I think that we set on what a welcoming of the outside funds would be. And so we're looking at adding 10 founding members. We have 5 founding members now. The founding membership is $1 million, and the entire thing converts into equity, but you get no initiation, no dues for life for you or the family and the kids under 21. And the ROI that we're providing in terms of that membership, it's about 8% annualized. in terms of the benefits, the access, the special privilege that you get as a founding member. And then the other aspect of that is if we don't get the 10 founding members, we would welcome just strategic partnerships or investors that want to invest towards it. So up to $10 million at an 8% convertible note. And then the other aspect of the raise that we're going to do is with what we're doing in democratizing motorsports and giving people access, we also want to democratize motorsports ownership. And so we're planning on doing a crowdfunding in the spring on Republic of $5 million with a minimum check of 100 to build that loyalty, to build the brand globally, and giving people the opportunity that have been supporting on social media through all the things that we do to be able to own a small stake in the business. And so we're projecting to have 6 clubhouses in the next 3 years, and the plan is at a minimum. And then the plan is in the next 5 to have 12 to 20 clubhouses.
Well, that's great. And I think we've come to the end, but I really would like Maite to have the last word here, give us her parting thoughts here of where she's going to be, what she plans to do, because I love her courage.
Thank you so much. So I want to say that, first of all, thank you, Rafa, for this opportunity, because you're not only helping us women to get into motorsport, it's not just he's helping on the grassroots levels, but he's helping us to get into the top levels professionally. And what he's doing is, I'm studying business finance in Miami-Dade College in Miami, and thank you. And I think the university that I'm learning with the team is like the performance ecosystem that he has, because the business vision behind it, as a driver on my peak performance on marketing and studying not even being a driver, that you need to study so much and know about all of this. It's amazing. So I'm really grateful for this opportunity. And next year I was doing this year at MX5 is con de Miata. So next year we are planning on going into GT4. So there's a really nice road to get into that, maybe endurance racing and 24-hour Daytona one day. So yeah, that is probably. So I want to thank Rafa because of what he's doing, and he's helping on the females. That is also my mission, to have more diversity into motorsport.
Thank you so much to Rafa and Maite. Big hand.
Thank you.
Nice. Thank you. Where else can you go from like